Chapter 50, Above Soaring Realm, 2. Chapter 50, Above Soaring Realm, 2. No. Bai Feng chuckled. The Mountain Sea Realm can stand their own ground. Even in the All-Skies battlefield, they can lead an army alone. With a single command, 100,000 people will rush forth to intimidate powerful enemies. However, as a general, you can also become the deputy general of a powerful army. For example, the deputy general of the Longwu Guards, an expert at the Mountain Sea Realm. Above the Mountain Sea Realm is the pinnacle. That is invincibility. It's too far away from you. It's fine as long as you know about it. There's no need to ask further. When you reach the Great Xia Prefecture, all of you will know about this. As for top-notch and invincible, that isn't our domain. What's the point of knowing about it? Your heart is higher than the sky, and your life is thinner than paper. You haven't even reached the 1,000-pound realm. If you know, can you become invincible in a day? You only need to know that they are very strong, unbelievably strong. 80 to 90% of the prefecture lords are peak-level experts, and the founders of the various prefecture lords are almost all invincible experts. This is enough. Su Yu's throat was dry. This was the first time he felt that the sky in Nanyuan was, really low. 10,000 Stone Realm experts were invincible in the air. He had never heard of experts of Cloud Realm and Mountain Sea Realm in Nanyuan. In the Cloud Realm, one could become a major general in the All-Skies battlefield. In the Mountain Sea Realm, one could oversee a region on the All-Skies battlefield and command an army. They were the overlords of a region. And above this, there was actually an extreme level and invincibility. Bai Feng looked at their expressions and smiled happily. He liked to see these people's shocked expressions and had some bad taste. Actually, there was no need to talk about these things in detail. He naturally knew about it when he arrived at the Great Xia Prefecture. However, he still spoke about it because he wasn't too happy after being attacked by Lu Wenyan. Su Yu, this little genius from Nanyuan, did he really know how high the sky was? At the next moment, Su Yu let out a long breath and suppressed his thoughts, barely regaining his composure. Bai Feng glanced at him and said in his heart, not a bad temperament. He was just a child who had never seen the world. It was already not easy for him to calm down so quickly. As for Lu Yu, even though she was excited, she had already calmed down. Bai Feng didn't stare too much. He could sense that this girl had long known about this. She was excited because she had some yearning at this moment. The truly ignorant one was Su Yu. This was because he was born in Nanyuan, grew up here, and had never left for 18 years. Su Long protected him very well, but since Su Long was only at the 1,000-pound realm, his knowledge naturally wouldn't be that high. Hence, Lu Wenyan wouldn't tell Su Yu these things. It was also very difficult for Su Yu to read about these things in books, so he was truly ignorant. These are still far away from you guys, and time is hard to come by. Are you guys sure you want to waste your time on this? Bai Feng didn't invite them to sit and allowed them to stand. He smiled and said, I'll be staying here for 2 days. From now on, if you have anything you want to ask or understand, you can ask me. I'll tell you everything I know. This is a rare opportunity. Su Yu hurriedly asked, Teacher Bai, what exactly is the power of will? How do you cultivate it? How do you judge it? What is strong and what is weak? Power of will. Bai Feng glanced at him and smiled. Yours isn't weak. Of course, you haven't sensed it specifically, cultivated it, and cared about it, so you won't be able to detect all of this. Martial Uncle asked you to go to Great Xia Civilization Academy because he sensed it, so he doesn't want you to take the wrong path. In my opinion, the power of will is actually similar to the power of the physical body. It's also a type of power, but it's a manifestation on the outside and a manifestation on the inside. As he spoke, Bai Feng picked up a black cup and covered its mouth with his hand. He then explained, the power of the physical body is actually the cup itself. If I hit you with the cup, can you feel the pain? Suyu nodded. This is the power of the physical body. If I hit you, you will feel pain. You can directly feel it and see it. How much pain I feel when I hit you is related to the essence of the cup. The harder it is, the bigger and heavier it is, and the more pain you will feel. As for the power of will, it's actually the power within the cup. At this moment, you won't be able to feel it. When we cultivate the power of will, it's like pouring water into the cup. He took some water from the air and poured it into the cup. When the water in the cup wasn't full, the power of will didn't manifest. Even when it reached the mouth of the cup, it was still useless. This is the state of your teacher, Martial Uncle Lu. His cup was already full, but it didn't overflow. When the power of will appears and overflows this cup, that would be manifestation. At this moment, the cup was filled with water and overflowed. And it did not stop. Under Bai Feng's control, more and more water gushed out. At this moment, you feel that it's nothing if a little bit of water seeps out. It's better to have a stronger body. But what if it's not just a little bit? There was more and more water. Rumble. Suyu started to hallucinate. He saw that the water had turned into a river that gushed out, drowning the room and the academy. Rivers, floods, waves, monstrous waves. Boom. The destruction of the world, the collapse of cities, and the collapse of mountains and rivers. Bai Feng's voice rang in his ears. This is the power of will. It can transform water into ice, and it can also gather water to form rivers and seas. In essence, it's the same as the power of the body. It's just a form of usage of strength. But it has a special characteristic. There's no end to it. At the very least, there seems to be an end to the cultivation of the physical body. Of course, we can't see it now. When you reach the soaring realm, you can actually cultivate both paths. However, we will first use water to overflow and wrap the water cup to strengthen our bodies. As for the body path, the water cup will first turn from porcelain to stone, then we will desperately pour water into it. Chapter 51, Above Soaring Realm, 3. Chapter 51, Above Soaring Realm, 3. If you want to ask me which path is better, it's actually the same. It depends on your choice and talent. Whoever is easier to walk on will walk on that path. Suyu's vision blurred and everything from earlier disappeared. Bai Feng was still holding the cup in his hand. Suyu then took a breath and said, in that case, if you aren't satisfied or don't spill the contents of the cup like my teacher, does that mean that it's useless? You can't say that. At the very least, my thoughts are clearer and I'm more energetic. Bai Feng smiled. If you don't even have the ability to manifest your will, it's the same no matter which path you choose to cultivate. You're destined not to become an expert. In that case, is there a big difference between 1,000-pound and 10,000-stone realm? When it's not full, can you judge the strength of the participants? You can. Bai Feng explained, at a certain level, you can actually sense it yourself. Of course, experts who have manifested can also observe it. For example, you. Right now, the cup is filled to about 10% of its capacity. I can sense it very clearly. As for you, you won't be able to sense it now. Then when can I detect it? When it's half full, you'll be able to feel it very clearly. That power is in your body, but you won't be able to use it. We call this stage, nurturing nature. Bai Feng smiled and said, nurturing one's temperament isn't considered a realm. Of course, you can understand it as origin opening, 1,000-pound, or 10,000 stone. This period is very difficult to endure. Cultivating one's temperament will allow you to sense strength, but you won't be able to use it. Are you anxious? You clearly thought that you could fight one-on-one with a 10,000 stone realm, but you were sent flying by a single slap from a 1,000-pound realm. Aren't you anxious? You've been beaten to a bloody pulp by a 1,000-pound realm. Actually, your water has already reached the mouth of the bottle and will soar into the air in the next moment. Are you angry? But no matter how anxious and angry you are, it won't spill out. Are you angry? It's useless to be angry. At this time, many people can't take it anymore and lose their composure or feel sad. There are plenty of people who choose the path of the physical body because it's too infuriating. Bai Feng chuckled. I'm looking forward to this day very much. I want to see you guys angry and helpless. You guys have to know that every time this happens, the academy will do something. During the cultivation period, there will be students from the war academies coming to interact with you. Actually, it's to beat you up. To abuse you. To humiliate you. To anger you to death. Su Yu was dumbfounded. Lu Yu also couldn't help but ask softly, Teacher Bai, why would the academy do this? Simple, stimulate you guys. You have to be able to calm your heart and recognize the essence of yourself before you have any hope of manifesting it. This is a double-edged sword. It might drive the students crazy and anger them to death. They might give up on this path, but the results will be pretty good even if they manage to survive. Bai Feng smiled happily. This is a show for the civilization academies. After you guys enter, you can see how your seniors are tortured. It's too tragic. The students of the war academies love to talk about how I tortured someone back then. Now, that person is already an expert at the Mountain Sea realm, while I'm only at the 10,000 stone realm. Back then, I beat those at the Mountain Sea realm until they peed their pants and cried like humans. Many people thought that I was bragging, but that wasn't the case. It was true. So you couldn't help but ask, Teacher Bai, does everyone have to do this? Then you. Me. Bai Feng replied calmly, I didn't because I'm very strong. Even at the nurturing stage, I'm very strong. The moment Su Yu asked, he felt that things weren't good. At this moment, he smiled awkwardly and didn't continue asking. Didn't he? He felt that it was unlikely. Maybe he had been beaten to tears before. However, to think that there was actually such a scene in Great Xia Civilization Academy. Su Yu was truly enlightened. As for the cultivation of willpower, Bai Feng changed the topic and continued, read and learn. Of course, you won't be reading ordinary books or learning ordinary words. You've all learned the all races languages before and know them. Why do you want to learn all races languages? The all races language itself isn't considered much. However, some of the all races language carriers that have recorded cultivation arts and martial skills are filled with the power of will. At this moment, reading books is a form of will confrontation. The stronger the cultivation art, the stronger the recorder. It will be harder for you to fight against them. Actually, this can also be used as a test. In the Great Xia Civilization Academy, when you can read the original copies of cultivation arts at the 1,000-pound realm, it means that your willpower can go against the physical body cultivators at the 1,000-pound realm. When you can read the original copies of soaring realm cultivation arts, it means that you can manifest them. Looking at the 10,000 stone origin, even if it's the nurturing stage, it's also the beginning of this stage. Su Yu finally understood everything. At this moment, a white bone fragment suddenly appeared in Bai Feng's hand. This is a book that records the cultivation arts of all races at the 1,000-pound realm. Of course, it's just a fragment. The All Skies battlefield doesn't lack such things, and neither does the Great Xia Civilization Academy. You guys have just entered the academies, and your main focus is to learn these fragments. You can take a look now. The fragment's power is very weak. If you can see the words, it means that you are close to 20% of the cup's power. Bai Feng had just said that Su Yu only had 10% of his accumulation. But now, he was showing Su Yu that he needed 20% of his accumulation. Su Yu didn't think too much about it. He took the white bone fragment and studied it. Bai Feng pointed out, pay attention to it with your heart. You just need to pay attention to some things. Suyu nodded and looked at it seriously, fully focused. Gradually, the bone fragment changed in his eyes, emitting a faint glow. There seemed to be some words on it. Suyu was a little curious and became even more attentive, wanting to understand more. Chapter 52, Above Soaring Realm, 4. Chapter 52, Above Soaring Realm, 4. Boom! At this moment, his head seemed to have been hit by a hammer, and the bone shard emitted light. Suyu let out a scream and instantly tossed the bone shard away. Bai Feng had long expected this. He chuckled and said, "There's a price to pay for reading books. This is the method of cultivation. This is the Civilization Academy. Don't think that if you go to a Civilization Academy, you'll be the same as Nanyuan. You can just read the translated version. That's nothing. Every confrontation is a tempering of your will. Of course, you can't do it too many times a day. Once or twice is enough. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. The Great Xia Civilization Academy don't lack lunatics. Many people overestimate themselves and look at the origin that exceeds their scope. Hence, many people have gone crazy." Suyu felt a splitting headache. Tears were about to fall. How painful. However, after about 10 seconds later, Suyu opened his eyes and panted as he regained his composure. It was as painful as being killed in a dream. However, after being killed for so many years, he was used to it. At most, the pain was a little unbearable. Bai Feng was just about to continue, "It's fine if you cry for a while. In any case, it's not like the new students are crying alone." However, at this moment, he suddenly swallowed his words. He glanced at Suyu and raised his brows slightly. He was sure that Suyu's willpower was only at 10% full, but this fellow actually endured it just like that? How was that possible? The willpower on this bone fragment was twice as strong as Suyu's. Suyu would have to suffer for at least half an hour. Bai Feng blinked. Not bad. No wonder his martial uncle thought so highly of this kid. In that case, this fellow might not be too talented, but his tenacity was terrifying. Sometimes, when one cultivated the power of will, talent wasn't the key. Tenacity was the key to determining one's future. Suyu recovered and gritted his teeth. He then asked, "Teacher Bai, is the willpower of ordinary people strong?" 1%. Bai Feng suppressed the thought in his heart and smiled. This is the standard of ordinary people, which means that they don't have the talent. You are considered quite talented. As for Lu Yu, she is slightly stronger than you, around 15%. Suyu felt a little embarrassed. So I'm not as strong as Lu Yu. Bai Feng smiled and didn't continue. He could tell that Lu Yu had seen some cultivation art fragments before. Hence, she was stronger than Suyu. But in reality, Suyu would be able to catch up very soon. At the side, Lu Yu didn't say anything either. However, she looked at Suyu with a strange expression. She had seen the original copy, so she knew how painful the first collision was. The first time she saw it, she cried for half an hour and slept for more than half an hour before recovering. As for Suyu, was this fellow a wild beast? No, was this fellow's reaction slow? Did he not feel pain? After she saw it the first time, she didn't want to see it again. She was scared and fearful. However, Suyu actually took the bone fragment again. He had a look of yearning on his face, as though he wanted to see it again. Bai Feng couldn't help but laugh. In the past, he didn't pay too much attention to these two people, but at this moment, he was interested in Suyu. He smiled and said, "I'll give it to you. You can only read it twice a day at most. Don't read too much, you won't be able to withstand it. When you can really read the words on it, you'll have reached 20%. You'll be one step closer to cultivating your character. This is just one of the bone fragments. There are 3 pages in the entire book. After you finish reading it, and you finish reading it all at once, you will be able to reach 40%. When you can read the 10,000 stone cultivation technique, you will reach the nurturing stage. Bai Feng gave the bone fragment to Su Yu. This item was valuable, but it was nothing to him. Su Yu didn't know the value, but Lu Yu did. At this moment, she felt a little envious. Even for her, whose family was considered wealthy in Nanyuan, it was impossible to purchase an original bone fragment without at least 100,000 coins. The two of them came together. She was clearly stronger, but Bai Feng still gave it to Su Yu. From this, it could be seen that Bai Feng was more interested in Su Yu. Chapter 53, You Are Mine. 1. Chapter 53, You Are Mine. 1. Bai Feng's words opened a new world for Su Yu. Su Yu had too many questions and things he wanted to say. However, Bai Feng didn't wait for him to continue asking. He took the initiative to smile and say, "Do you want to continue asking these questions? Martial uncle didn't ask you to look for me so that you could ask these simple, common-sense questions. These questions will be known when we get to the academy." Su Yu started slightly. That was true. An assistant researcher's course fee was 5 merit points per hour. Wasn't it a waste for him to ask this? At the side, Lu Yu was a little excited. She then asked softly, "Teacher Bai, in that case, can you teach us how to engrave divine runes in our wills?" Su Yu was at a loss. What did this mean? Lu Wenyan had never told him this before, so he didn't understand what Lu Yu was talking about. Bai Feng smiled. "It seems that you know." "Su Yu, didn't Martial Uncle tell you?" "I'm not." Su Yu whispered, "Teacher Bai, will engraving divine runes." "What does this mean?" Bai Feng smiled faintly and said, "Divine runes are a general term. They don't refer to the language of the god race but the language of all races that possess powerful might. People like us are also known as civilization masters in the outside world. You've seen our battles before, but this isn't our strongest combat method and state. Of course, your teacher has just manifested his will, so he hasn't familiarized himself with this aspect yet. Hence, yesterday, Lu Wenyan chose the crudest method of battle, will control. The will to inscribe divine runes. This is the most important and crucial course for you all to attend when you go to the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Use your will to outline the words you want. Control them and nurture them. One day, when your will is manifested and your divine runes are perfected, you will be able to suppress all directions with a single word. There are many divine runes, or rather, any one of them can become divine runes. You have to understand its meaning and use your heart to understand it. Accept, nurture, and tolerate it, even if you might not be able to use it in your lifetime. A civilization master who didn't manage to outline their own divine runes isn't a qualified civilization master. They are considered weak even among the civilization masters. Bai Feng looked at Su Yu and chuckled. "Are you at a loss now?" "A little." Su Yu felt awkward. He really didn't understand this. When you go to Great Xia Civilization Academy, the general courses, including some learning of all races' languages, will be taught by some students. This is also a way for them to earn merit points. However, the engraving and outline of divine runes must be taught by a civilization master who has manifested his will. Your teacher might have told you before that our lessons are very expensive. This is the main point. After that, Bai Feng chuckled. "You'll understand after I show it to you." After he finished speaking, Su Yu felt the air around him freezing. At the next moment, an invisible force erupted from Bai Feng's body. In the air, a somewhat familiar word gradually took shape. It was the language of the god race. Su Yu had learned the language of the god race before, so he could recognize it. It was as if someone was writing in stealth mode, and the word slowly took shape. Gather. Su Yu recognized it. This was gather. Naturally, it wasn't written in the human language. The words formed in the air and emitted a faint glow. This wasn't the divine rune that Bai Feng had been nurturing, but the one he had drawn on the spot. In the next moment, violent winds surged. Bzz. The air trembled, and so did the furniture in the surroundings. It was as if they had experienced an earthquake. "I'm scared." Bai Feng growled. This was the pronunciation of the god races, gather. At this moment, Suyu felt something different. Lu Yu might not know, but he did. He could feel the origin chi gathering. He was unable to sense the existence of origin chi when he was in the origin opening realm because he had absorbed origin chi previously. However, Suyu had experienced it before, so he could sense the difference now. Bzz. The space was still trembling. At the next moment, Lu Yu exclaimed. The origin chi in the surroundings was sucked dry. In the blink of an eye, a drop of milky white liquid appeared in front of Bai Feng. Origin chi liquid. Lu Yu was extremely shocked. Suyu had never seen origin chi liquid before, but when he heard this, his expression froze. Origin chi liquid. An origin chi liquid that cost 100,000 yuan per drop was said to require 3 days to condense a single drop. In this instant, it took shape in front of him. Nanyuan origin chi is too weak, so it can't be considered origin chi liquid. No, it can't be considered a standard drop of origin chi liquid. It has roughly half the effect. Bai Feng exhaled slightly, looking a little tired. These aren't divine runes that I've nurtured. A person's energy is limited, so it's impossible for them to nurture too many divine runes. These are the divine runes that I've just outlined for demonstration purposes. This is one of the wonderful uses of divine runes. When you discover that the words within have mysterious effects, you can try to outline them. Of course, even if everyone outlines the same words, the functions might not be the same. I use this word to gather origin chi. Others might use this word to kill. This is a civilization master. Bai Feng smiled and took the formed origin chi liquid into his hand. He then stored it in a jade bottle and casually tossed it to Suyu. Suyu was at a loss. He felt a little agitated and uneasy. Teacher Bai, this is too precious. Even if it wasn't as good as the original origin chi liquid, it had at least half the effect of origin chi liquid. 100,000 yuan for a drop of the original product. This was still worth 50,000 to 60,000. Take it. It's just a random item. Bai Feng didn't mind. He smiled faintly and said, these are gathered in your Nanyuan Academy, and they consume the origin chi of your Nanyuan Academy. If I take them away, won't Marshal Uncle come looking for me to settle scores? Chapter 54, You Are Mine. 2. Chapter 54, You Are Mine. 2, that's a small matter. It's only useful to your origin opening realm. At our realm, a drop of origin chi won't change anything. As he spoke, Bai Feng did not continue to mention this and said again, Lu Yu asked me to teach you how to engrave divine runes. This is actually a little beyond what you can accept because you are not too familiar with the language of the All Races sect. Even though you have mastered more than a dozen languages and 20 languages of the All Races sect, you have never seen the original text written by the All Races sect. You have never seen the text drawn by their own experts, so you can't feel it clearly. It's very difficult for you to discover which text has power. The same words, written by different people, by different strong men, give you a different feeling. So, the thinking it brings you is also different. If you look at the original version of 1,000-Pound Realm, you might think that this word is nothing special. When you look at the words of the Mountain Sea Realm, you might find that it contains a lot of meaning and knowledge. Bai Feng looked at the two of them and said seriously, when the divine runes outlined by Will are nurtured to the extreme, they might really materialize in this world and become divine weapons. In the Great Xia Civilization Academy, 180 years ago, the third-generation director died, leaving behind the word, war, for the demons. It formed a special treasure realm of the Great Xia Civilization Academy, the Demon War Arena. Demon War Arena. Lu Yu let out a low cry. This time, Su Yu really felt that he was too useless. He was a little vexed that he didn't know anything. Bai Feng said seriously, "Yes, this is the treasure land of the Great Xia Civilization Academy. The War Academy has always been eager to enter it to train itself. It forms a small world that is mainly suitable for cultivation below the soaring realm. Combat training. In the Demon War Arena, a large number of demon soldiers will form. Military formations, strong people. You can feel the real killing environment. You can treat them as true demons. You can use your intelligence in it, your strength, to kill, to fight, to prepare for your future entry into the battlefields of the heavens." 115 years ago, the fourth-generation governor died, leaving behind the origin character of the god race. It formed another treasure realm, the Origin Chi Mystic Realm. It has similar effects to the Gather character I just used, but that's eternal, not temporary like mine. In the Origin Chi Mystic Realm, you can feel the rich essence energy and increase your cultivation speed. There are many such treasures in the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Some of them were given to the Great Xia Dynasty's War Academy, while the rest were kept for myself. At this moment, Bai Feng was looking forward to it. He said softly, "A person's energy is limited. Usually, they will major in a divine language that is most suitable for them. Their final goal is to materialize it and inherit it forever. Of course. You can outline a lot of holy texts, both for the main battle and for support. That's fine. You will understand everything when you reach the Great Xia Civilization Academy." Bai Feng paused for a moment and continued, "Since you've mentioned it, I can't hide it. After all, I said that I can ask anything. Today, I'll teach you how to outline the divine words. It doesn't mean that you can outline it just because you know how to write this word. It's not so simple to outline divine texts before willpower materializes. It's a meditation outline, not a real way of writing." Su Yu's eyes lit up. Outlining the divine text. No wonder the teacher said that Bai Feng's class was very valuable and precious. Bai Feng understood the difficulty even if he did not say it. It consumed a lot of willpower. After Bai Feng's demonstration just now, his face was still a little pale. Clearly, it was not as simple as it looked. Your willpower is weak. At this moment, you can't completely outline a divine rune. You can only outline a portion. Then, you can meditate in perfect. You've learned many languages of the all-race sects. Of course, the most important thing is still the human language. The language of the all-race sects naturally includes the human language. You're not too familiar with other languages, but you're the most familiar with the human language. First of all, let's start with the human language. You've never seen the words written by a human expert. I'll write it for you today." With that, Bai Feng waved his hand in the air, and a piece of white paper appeared. Without taking a pen, Bai Feng looked at the white paper and exhaled. Words with true power are all augmented with the power of will. Therefore, not everyone can write them. Some humans can't write them even if they fly. What you are most familiar with is the origin opening art. Today, I will write the origin opening art. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Feng reached out and did not approach the white paper. Instead, he moved in the air. Golden light flickered above his fingers. Su Yu once again felt his origin chi gather and the existence of his willpower. Bai Feng's expression was solemn. His fingers were like swords as he waved them in the air. Origin opening realm has 9 apertures. As soon as the first sentence was written, the white paper showed signs of shattering, as if it could not withstand the power of the words. Golden light flickered in Bai Feng's hand, covering the white paper and stabilizing it. The carrier is not strong enough to record powerful words of will. However, this is only a demonstration. I will reduce my strength. In the future, if you want to record powerful cultivation techniques and words, you will need a special carrier. You will know in the future. He went back to writing. His head began to sweat. Wisps of white smoke rose from his head as if it were burning. Don't look at me. Look at the words I've written. At the side, Lu Yu hurriedly nodded and said to Su Yu, the words willed by a cultivation master are worth 1,000 gold. Chapter 55, You Are Mine. 3. Chapter 55, You Are Mine. 3. Su Yu hurriedly nodded. Needless to say, he understood how precious it was. Words appeared, sentences were written. Su Yu looked over and felt the world spinning. It's different. It was completely different from the origin opening art that he saw on normal days. He did not seem to see words, but a person. A person who was cultivating the origin opening art. That was Bai Feng. He was opening 9 apertures. Outside the door, Lu Wenyan smiled and muttered softly, this kid really worked hard. Writing words of will, and long ones at that. He couldn't do it. If he could do it, he would have taught that skill. Even if his willpower materialized now, he would not be able to do it. He was inferior to Bai Feng, who could write the origin opening art. As for him, he would probably be finished by the first chapter. He would not be able to complete the origin opening art. Even if there weren't many words in the origin opening art, this wasn't something he could do. Even if his willpower had been nurtured to be very strong over the years and wasn't weaker than the ordinary 3 levels of the soaring realm, he still couldn't do it. Bai Feng was at the 6th level of the soaring realm, was even about to advance to the 7th level. There were not many such people in the Great Xia Civilization Academy. They referred to the younger generation and those below the age of 40. Lu Wenyan was actually just giving it a try. He did not expect Bai Feng to really spend a lot of willpower to teach the little geniuses of the 2 small cities. He didn't volunteer that information. If he asked Bai Feng to give up his spot and teach his students, he could do it shamelessly. However, he did not say anything about copying the words of will and teaching the outline of divine runes because there was a price to pay. Su Yu, Lu Yu, cherish this opportunity. Lu Wenyan said quietly and left quickly. In the room, Su Yu was extremely excited. For the first time, he could clearly see a person cultivating the origin opening art, the kind that could be analyzed from the inside out. This was real teaching. The guidance from the academy previously felt too crude at this moment. Was this the power of a civilization master? At this moment, Su Yu felt that if he used his blood essence to activate the origin gathering art, the efficiency might be 30% higher than before. It was no wonder that the Great Xia Civilization Academy could analyze the cultivation techniques of the myriad races. If they used this method to write and the strong learned it, it would be too direct and clear. Don't just look at cultivation. Look at the words and the power of the words. If you can feel the words that suit you, you can imagine and outline them. Find the first divine language that suits you. I'm writing on the spot. My will is the most active. At this moment, you can feel it the most clearly. Bai Feng did not say that even in the Great Xia Civilization Academy, not everyone had such an opportunity to see a powerhouse write a will. Most of the time, they would observe the original cultivation techniques of the all races sect and search for them. Under normal circumstances, the outline of divine runes would only be done during the cultivation stage. If Su Yu and the others entered the school, the key was not to cultivate but to master more languages of the all races sect. Therefore, it would take them a few more years to come into contact with the outline of divine runes. Divine runes. Su Yu stopped letting his imagination run wild and went to read the text. Words danced before his eyes. They all seemed to be filled with power, but he couldn't grab them. Su Yu was dazzled and felt a splitting headache. He forced himself to continue watching. Beside him, Lu Yu was already sweating profusely and her face was pale. A moment later, Lu Yu looked dejected and withdrew from the study of the words of will. At this moment, even though she felt that this text was full of power, she no longer felt as if she was within it. I failed. Lu Yu sighed inwardly. She wasn't exactly disappointed. Her willpower was too weak. It was normal for her first sensing to fail. She turned around and saw that Su Yu was also sweating profusely, but he was still looking. Lu Yu was slightly stunned. He's actually still in reading it. Bai Feng was still writing. His face was pale, but he smiled. So resilient. To be honest, he wrote the origin opening art not because of Lu Yu but because of Su Yu. This kid, he suddenly felt like he'd discovered a real genius. Talent was not the key. It was that strength, that tenacity. Find the word you feel most at home with quickly. Quickly. Capture it. Use your will to capture it. Lu Yu trembled when she heard this. Teacher Bai was laying the foundation for Su Yu. Did he think Su Yu could do it? This was Su Yu's first time coming into contact with it. Could he lay the foundation on his first try? Impossible. The first time was only for familiarization. How could? As Lu Yu was thinking, Su Yu also felt Bai Feng's anxiety. He seemed to be unable to hold on any longer. Su Yu didn't have time to think too much. At this moment, countless words were flying in front of him. Su Yu stared at one of the words and gritted his teeth. He quickly captured it according to Bai Feng's instructions. Simply put, he was imagining that he was grabbing it. Grab that pulsing text. Grab it. Hurry. I don't know if I'll get another chance like this, but it's free. I might have to pay the next time I go to the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Get it, now. Su Yu was sweating all over. He didn't know, nor did he feel anything. He only had one thought in his mind, which was to grab onto that word. Otherwise, it would be a pity. Just as Bai Feng was about to finish writing the last word and write, the white paper trembled. Bai Feng looked over and his expression changed. Strengthen the qi and blood, refine the muscles and bones. In this sentence, the word blood dimmed, losing the glow of the other words. Did he succeed? Bai Feng was a little stunned. He turned to look at Su Yu. He had succeeded on his first try. He admitted that he had some thoughts about the assessment and some thoughts about his talent, so he had paid a price to write the origin opening art. He hoped that Su Yu would succeed against the odds. But he had not expected him to really succeed. Christ, are you shitting me? He was a genius himself. The very first time he entered the academy his willpower was at 20%. He could directly observe the origin fragment of the 1,000-pound realm. But it had taken him 6 months to outline the foundations of the divine runes for the first time. His teacher had personally written the letter of will for him 6 times. He'd succeeded. And that was genius. And this kid in front of him, for the first time, had accumulated 10%. Is he even human? How could such a guy appear in a small place like the Nanyuan dynasty? Fu *K me. Bai Feng cursed in his heart. Then, his gaze changed. The genius I discovered. No, a genius I trained myself. Damn, no one knows. He's only at 10%. It's not worth mentioning when he gets to the Great Xia Mansion. But no one knows that he's already captured the divine runes and laid the foundation for them. Bai Feng's eyes flickered. At this moment, Su Yu had already fallen into a dilemma and was meditating. Bai Feng pondered for a moment and looked at Lu Yu. He smiled and said, "Go back first. You must be very tired today. Rest and recover your energy. You can come back tomorrow." "Thank you, Teacher Bai." Lu Yu was indeed tired, but she couldn't help but glance at Su Yu. Bai Feng smiled and said, "It's his first time interacting with someone and he hasn't recovered yet. He'll be fine after resting for a while. Lu Yu couldn't tell that Su Yu had already captured the divine runes, so she didn't think too much about it. She only felt that Su Yu really didn't feel any pain and thanked Bai Feng before leaving. After she left, Bai Feng looked at Su Yu, who had fallen into meditation, and gritted his teeth. I profited. Holy **T. Teacher, I actually discovered a genius who captured divine runes on his first try. For the teacher to accept it in advance? I can't. I discovered that. I'm a researcher, too. Damn, what if I took him on as a student? Do I get to become a full-time employee? Of course, the premise is that this kid can really quickly nourish himself and even materialize. I'm a civilization master at the 6th level of the soaring realm. No one has any objections to me taking in an ordinary student with 10% willpower, right? Definitely not. Damn, I'm a genius. I've earned it. Bai Feng grimaced. In any case, Su Yu could not see that Bai Feng was smiling like a blooming flower. An unexpected bonus, lad. You're mine. It's all up to you, boy, whether or not you can be promoted. Chapter 56, You're Too Ordinary. 1. Chapter 56, You're Too Ordinary. 1. Blood. In his mind, blurred words rattled as if trying to escape his control. Su Yu tried his best to think, control, and suppress it. The word blood flashed in his mind. Su Yu didn't know if it was in his mind or in another deep space, but at this moment, Su Yu couldn't care less. Control it. This word would be his from now on. Su Yu didn't know if it was his mind that was suppressing the word, but he felt quite tired. It was the same feeling as escaping in a dream. It was very real. This word was resisting and struggling. Su Yu tried his best to suppress it. After some time, the word blood seemed to give in. In his mind, the font stopped moving. Do you submit? Su Yu asked in his consciousness. He felt that he had finally subdued the word blood. He subconsciously asked, Do you submit? However, at the next moment, the word blood seemed to be unconvinced and suddenly began to shake again. I'll beat you to death. Boom. Boom. At this moment, Su Yu felt that he was fighting in a dream. In the past, he couldn't defeat those monsters and was killed. This time, he felt that he had a chance of winning. It just depended on who could beat the other into submission. This was the first time in years that he'd met someone a little weaker than himself. Before, he'd been the weakest in his dreams. This blood was the weakest. I'll beat you to death. After some time, the word blood stopped moving again. Do you submit? Boom. They were at war again. He hit it again until it stopped moving. Do you submit? Boom. This continued for countless times. When Su Yu asked again, the word blood stopped moving as if it had exhausted all its energy. It submitted. In the room, Bai Feng had been waiting. The longer he waited, the more surprised he became. Still not awake. This guy had laid the foundation of divine runes. Logically speaking, he should have woken up long ago. Why wasn't he awake yet? He waited patiently. After a long time, Su Yu woke up. When he opened his eyes and saw Bai Feng, Su Yu hurriedly said, Teacher Bai, I fell asleep just now. Not asleep. Bai Feng did not say much and asked, how much was left? Huh? Su Yu was at a loss. You have neither the experience or the willpower to capture the divine runes on your first try. You certainly couldn't have left it all behind. How much of that blood word did you leave behind? How much was left? Su Yu was still confused. What do you mean? How many clear strokes are left behind? Bai Feng was speechless. Was it so difficult to understand? 6 strokes in the word blood. How many do you have left now? 1 stroke isn't bad. As long as there's some residue, you've officially laid the foundation. Su Yu understood this time. How many strokes were left? Does a word have to be divided into a few strokes? Shouldn't they all stay? He hesitated. Am I hallucinating, or did I actually not soust? Because he felt that his word was complete. Seeing that he did not say anything, Bai Feng continued, don't be discouraged. Leaving behind a stroke or even half a stroke is already something to be proud of. It's very difficult for a beginner like you to outline a divine rune. It needs a lot of time. Even if it's just the divine text I wrote, with the power of your will, it will take at least 3 months or even half a year to completely outline it. However, as long as the foundation is there, you can slowly outline it in the future. Bai Feng smiled. This time, he was in a good mood and didn't mind talking to Su Yu. When a divine rune is completely outlined, even before your will materializes, you can feel some of the magical effects of the divine rune. You outlined the word blood. The word has been sketched before, but for different purposes. Some people can absorb the blood of their enemies when they fight. Some people can condense the blood essence of all races, which is the current blood essence. In fact, most of the time, it was refined by a civilization master. Of course. The world is vast and full of wonders. The effect of one word may be quite different from the literal meaning. It is possible. One day, when you have fully sketched it, you can feel it. Then you can discover what it does. Su Yu listened attentively while sensing in his mind. What was the use of his blood lackey? He could only sense it with a complete outline. Was he considered a complete outline? The word blood in his mind was trembling. The next moment, Su Yu vaguely sensed something. Bai Feng was still speaking when his vision suddenly trembled slightly. He had a vague impression that an iron-winged bird race was charging over. USA. A violent roar echoed in his ears. Bai Feng was stunned for a moment. He was very strong. This small illusion could be broken by blowing air. But he didn't. He let the brief scene continue, let the iron-winged bird race pounce. He was stunned. Really, he was stunned. The next moment, he broke through the door and appeared in front of Lu Wenyan. Lu Wenyan stared at him blankly. What do you want? Are you joking with me, martial uncle? Lu Wenyan blinked and then glared at him. You were the one who suddenly rushed to me. I was shocked. Who's joking with you? You want a beating? Bai Feng looked at him seriously. It wasn't him. That wasn't Lu Wenyan's will interfering with him. He just felt that it was impossible, so he came to ask and try to see if Lu Wenyan was joking with him. Chapter 57, You're Too Ordinary. 2. Chapter 57, You're Too Ordinary. 2. Too weak. It couldn't hurt him or disturb him at all. He knew at a glance that it was an illusion, and a slight one at that. But if it wasn't Lu Wenyan, could it be Su Yu? You're kidding. I don't believe it. Su Yu had established the foundation of divine runes. He had seen it, so he reluctantly believed that he was a genius. But now, Su Yu was telling him that not only had he laid the foundation, but he had also completely outlined the divine runes. He wouldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. If this guy was in the nurturing stage, he would believe him. After all, geniuses were more or less special. But you're telling me the outline worked with a 10% reserve of willpower? Are you trying to say that the words I, Bai Feng, wrote are useless? So easily captured by you, completely outlined? Hey! Lu Wenyan shouted with a dark expression, Bai Feng, are you here to provoke me? Bai Feng came back to his senses and was about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. He smiled and said, Martial uncle, I was just joking. Didn't I give Su Yu some pointers today? I think that even though his talent is ordinary and he will probably be an ordinary student after entering the Great Xia Civilization Academy, he is still a student of Martial Uncle. Bai Feng seemed to be a little hesitant. He pondered for a moment and said, I have to give martial uncle face. I've thought about it. I'm afraid no one will accept him as a student if he goes to the Great Xia Civilization Academy. He can only be an ordinary student. Even though I'm only an assistant researcher, I can teach students now. Why don't I let him be my assistant? You. Lu Wenyan felt a little strange and did not bother to ask if he was provoking him. He asked curiously, you want to teach students? It's better to be an assistant than an ordinary cadet in the high-grade academy, isn't it? Lu said seriously, are you serious? Well, I think his talent is average, but he's tough. He's been reading the words of will for quite a while now. Maybe he has some future. Lu Wenyan chuckled and said, of course. This kid, he's not that talented, but he is indeed resilient. At such a young age, he patiently studied a language of the all-races sect without sleeping for a few days. He can endure hardships and has the ability. In the past few years, there have been geniuses from the academy who are more talented than him. But I don't necessarily think of him as superior. I think this kid really has a strong foundation, if he gets the chance. Lu sighed, afraid he wouldn't get the chance. However, thinking of what Bai Feng had just said, Lu Wenyan smiled and said, do you really want to take him in as a student? Before you become an assistant researcher, you can only bring 2 people, right? Yes, but I only took one in previously. Bai Feng smiled and said, it's not that there are no geniuses in the academy who want to become my disciple, but to be honest, I've seen many geniuses. How many of them are more talented than me? Some people are really smart and think that I have great potential. Under the instigation of their parents, they keep coming to me. There's also the identity of the teacher. There aren't many senior researchers in the academy. They also have the intention to curry favor with the teacher. But I don't like it. On the other hand, I think Su Yu's temper is quite good for me. Down to earth. Bai Feng chuckled and said, he's not the best, but he's not the worst either. He's also your student, martial uncle. It's fate that I came to Nanyuan this time to get to know him, so what do you think, martial uncle? Lu Wenyan glanced at him and said in a low voice, even though his talent is not too strong, I still hope he can go further. If you want to fool him, so be it. Even though I know the opportunity is good, I would rather he continue to wait for an opportunity. Let him settle down in the high-grade academy for a few years. I'm sure that with his character and hard work, someone will take a fancy to him in a few years. If you're willing to teach him seriously, then I'm fine with him being your student. This is his fate. I won't stop him. I'll just congratulate him. Lu Wenyan looked serious. Su Yu was a genius in the Nanyuan, but not in the Great Xia Prefecture. However, he felt that Su Yu had the foundation of an expert. As long as he settled down in the academy for a few years, he would have a chance to soar into the sky. He didn't want Bai Feng to cripple Su Yu. He had to cut this fate even if it was Su Yu's fate was to become Bai Feng's disciple. Don't worry, martial uncle. Bai Feng smiled and said, if you accept him, of course you have to teach him well. If he can make a name for himself as a teacher, I will also benefit. Perhaps it won't be a problem for me to become a full-time teacher in advance. According to the Academy's rules, I either have to break through to the Cloud Realm or teach a few students with some results before I can become a full-time teacher. However, I can't be bothered to teach students. Previously, I wanted to reach the Cloud Soaring Realm as soon as possible, but if he really has that chance, I might be able to become a full-time teacher early. Lu Wenyan smiled brightly. Teach him well. There will definitely be this opportunity. I think highly of him. Then you agree, martial uncle? Well, that's fine with me. Ask him yourself. Bai Feng smiled and said, martial uncle is closer to him. Do help me say a few words, lest he thinks that he's at a disadvantage as my student. He might not even take a fancy to an assistant researcher like me. There are countless students who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, especially such a genius from a small city. He always feels that he's peerless. He won't. Lu smiled. I'll clear it with him. Thank you, Martial Uncle. Bai Feng nodded and quickly disappeared in front of Lu Wenyan. After he left, Lu Wenyan suddenly smiled. His beard trembled. That lad, he's good. Chapter 58, You're Too Ordinary. 3. Chapter 58, You're Too Ordinary. 3. Suyu had actually caught Bai Feng's eye. Who was Bai Feng? Assistant researcher, a genius at the 6th level of the soaring realm. His teacher was a senior researcher, a top expert at the Mountain Sea realm. Bai Feng also had hopes of quickly advancing to the 7th level of the airborne realm. The cloud realm might take 5 years, or 8. In any case, there was definitely hope of reaching it within 10 years. The cloud realm before the age of 40. In his 50s or 60s, he had a chance of breaking through to the Mountain Sea realm. Before he turned 100, he even had a chance of surpassing the Mountain Sea realm. Was such a character what he called mediocre? Naturally not. The Grand Xia Prefecture Master, Xia Longwu, was a genius whose name spread throughout the worlds. 20 years ago, when he was in charge of the Devil Suppression Army, he was at the peak of the Mountain Sea realm. At that time, Xia Longwu was in his early 40s and was a genius recognized by everyone. Bai Feng might be slightly inferior to Xia Longwu, but how many Xia Longwu were there in the universe? Suyu, your chance is here. Lu Wenyan was relieved and in a good mood. Bai Feng was in an even better mood. Martial Uncle was too gullible. Of course, at this stage, if he casually told anyone that he wanted to take Suyu in as a student, everyone would probably think that Suyu had profited. He, Bai Feng, had ignored the geniuses of the academy and accepted a mediocre student from a medium-sized academy as his student. What an honor for Suyu! Bai Feng returned to the room again. As for the broken door, he could not be bothered to look at it. Suyu was still waiting, a little confused and uneasy. What happened to Bai Feng just now? He suddenly ran away. Was there an enemy spying on them? Cough, cough. Bai Feng coughed lightly and landed on the ground. He looked at Suyu and said with a smile, I've already dealt with some things just now. By the way, judging from your appearance, could it be that you've already completed the outline of the divine rune? Well, I think so. Suyu whispered, I'm not sure if it is, but I do have a complete blood word in my mind. Yes, that's right. I just felt it, as if it could create some illusion. It's a manifestation of will interfering with reality. As he spoke, he looked at Suyu and said, your willpower isn't strong, so the effect is very weak. When your will materializes, you can interfere with reality. At that time, the iron-winged bird race that you've just manifested might pounce and kill an enemy at the soaring realm. It's quite good. Bai Feng chuckled and said, I told you before that I was very strong at the nurturing stage. Do you know why? I didn't lie to you. I was indeed very strong because I had outlined the complete divine runes at that time. I was very strong. At that stage, I beat up many students from the War Academy until they cried for their parents. You have now outlined a divine rune. It is weak, but this is the opportunity. Of course. It's really very weak. Bai Feng said seriously, this is just a word of will that I wrote at the last minute. The carrier is not strong, and it is completely outlined by the power of my will. It is not outlined by the blood essence of powerful races, so in comparison, this divine rune is really too weak. It's actually not considered a divine rune of the soaring realm. At most, it's just a fragment. So even if you succeed in sketching it, there's not much use for it. Compared to a genius, you're too far behind. Bai Feng sighed and said, some of the geniuses in the academy have even entered the nurturing stage. I mean the ones who have just entered school. They have outlined complete divine runes, and some of them are even divine runes of the gods and devils. In the nurturing stage, some of them even observed the original peak of 10,000 stones realm of the gods and devils race. In other words, the divine runes they outlined might be able to kill Nineth level of the 10,000 stone realm. Nurturing doesn't mean you have no combat power. Of course, that's the domain of geniuses. A mediocre person, even at the nurturing stage, can't outline a complete divine rune. It's better not to mention such mediocre people. The world is big and there are many geniuses, but how many can reach the peak? Every year, those who are beaten up in the high-grade academy are the mediocre ones. Geniuses will only move forward and sweep away the invincible. Bai Feng said a lot. Most of them were talking about how powerful those geniuses were and how they amazed everyone. In the Great Zhou Prefecture, there's a genius who entered the Great Xia Civilization Academy last year. After entering the academy for half a year, his will materialized and he controlled 9 complete divine runes. His body was forged with the blood of the god race, and he reached the 3rd level of soaring realm in a day. The All-Skies battlefield is already discussing whether to grant him the status of an assistant researcher in advance. That's genius. Bai Feng spoke calmly. He was not lying. Of course, he had overlooked some facts. For example, that guy's grandfather was a senior researcher, that guy's grandmother was also a senior researcher, that guy's father was a Cloud Realm expert from the War Academy, and his mother was a genius researcher from the High-Grade Academy. None of that matters. Bai Feng thought to himself, was this important? Completely unimportant. If you have the ability, Su Yu, find a few senior researchers to be your parents. I'm the one who's impressive. Su Yu was shocked. How old is he? 19. A year older than you. Su Yu was completely dumbfounded. Was the sky outside the Nanyuan really that high? Of course. That's a minority. Don't despair. Bai Feng was afraid that he would really fall into despair from the blow, so he smiled and said, that's a genius, not you. But as long as you work hard, there's hope for you to reach that step. Don't be in a hurry to move forward. Our civilization masters are all quiet, but we can amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Teacher Bai, then I. By the way, don't tell anyone about your drawing of the divine runes. You're in Nanyuan, and there's so much commotion here. Even a small matter is big news. Once the people from the All Races sect find out, you'll be in trouble. Chapter 59, You're Too Ordinary. 4. Chapter 59, You're Too Ordinary. 4. Bai Feng said seriously, you should keep a low profile before you have the corresponding martial strength. You are not bad. At the very least, in Nanyuan, you are also a genius. That Lu Yu is inferior to you. In a little over 2 months, you will be assessed by the Great Xia Civilization Academy. It won't be a problem for you to enter the academy. You will rest for a month in between, and you will enter the academy in August. At that time, the academy will do an investigation. Do you want to be allocated uniformly, or do you want to choose a researcher to be your teacher and pass his examination? You can choose me. You're my martial uncle's student, so it's fate that we met. When the time comes, I'll go easy on you and let you join my sect. Of course, before you choose, you can ask around and see if it's a loss for you to join my sect. I don't mind if you give up this opportunity. After saying that, Bai Feng folded the that he had written earlier and tossed it to Su Yu. Take your time to read it when you get back. Even though it isn't as good as when I wrote it on the spot, taking a look will help you strengthen your willpower. You can also see if there's a chance to capture a few more divine runes. I'll only teach you this much for the time being. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Your foundation is still very weak, and your willpower is also very weak. We'll talk about everything when your willpower is stronger. Su Yu no longer knew what to say. He seemed to have been accepted in advance, and Bai Feng had even accepted him as a student. What was this? Lucky? Or, could it be that Bai Feng was giving face to Teacher Lu and was just patronizing him? He then looked at the items in his hands. 1 drop of origin chi liquid, 1 bone fragment from the 1,000-pound realms all races, and 1 words of will written by a 6th-level soaring realm civilization master. Had he struck it rich? A pie that fell from the sky? Su Yu was in a daze. He didn't realize that his greatest gain today wasn't this. Rather, it was that he had captured a divine rune and completely outlined it. Even though it was still very weak, the foundation of the divine rune had been established. Go back and have a good rest. You have consumed a lot of willpower today. Bai Feng's voice rang out faintly. I'll be waiting for you in the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Of course, it won't be that easy to truly obtain my recognition. Before you enter the academy, your willpower will reach 20%, and you'll be able to observe the 1,000-pound bone fragments. At this moment, you're barely qualified to be my student and not just an errand boy. When I return this time, I feel that I have a chance of breaking through to the 7th level of the soaring realm. Within 3 years, I will strive to break through to the cloud realm. At that time, if you are still as mediocre as you are now, perhaps, you won't even have the qualifications to announce to the public that I'm your teacher. Bai Feng spoke calmly with his hands behind his back. He looked so majestic. Su Yu didn't speak but silently clenched his fists. Maybe. He was a civilization master who was about to reach the 7th level of the soaring realm and might step into the cloud realm very soon. He wasn't even 30 years old this year, so he couldn't refute these words in front of him. I will work hard. Su Yu mumbled inaudibly and then left. Bai Feng maintained his expert state. After Su Yu left, he suddenly heaved a long sigh of relief and grinned. Fuck. He outlined a complete divine rune. Fuck, what's the situation with this guy? It's too unbelievable. He found it a little hard to believe, but it quickly turned into a smile. He had really profited a lot on this trip to Nanyuan. Brat, keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Don't fucking mess around before you enter the prefecture. Don't mess around after you enter the academy either. Keep a low profile. We'll talk about it when you're at Soaring Realm. Bai Feng mumbled for a while and soon thought of something. He mumbled, this won't do. I have to go back to the academy to register. I'll take this fellow in advance and give my martial uncle some face. If anyone dares to take him in as a student, I won't let them off. That won't do either. The teacher knows my personality. If I accept students on account of martial uncle, won't he suspect me? What if they snatch my students? No, this is too difficult. What should I do? I'm so anxious. Oh, I know. I'll get the teacher to go out and register it. Right, let's do this. Didn't a new race appear in the All Skies battlefield? The teacher will definitely be interested. Teacher, you should go. Come back after school starts. Bai Feng mumbled, wishing he could return to the academy immediately. Great Xia Civilization Academy. A middle-aged refined man was reading in the garden. At this moment, he suddenly frowned slightly. Is senior brother Lu scolding me again? Sai, go ahead and scold me. It's up to you. The refined man smiled, shook his head slightly, and continued reading. Chapter 60, 5th Level Origin Opening Realm, 1. Chapter 60, 5th Level Origin Opening Realm, 1. On the way, Su Yu felt a little dizzy. Observing the words of will, capturing the divine runes, and studying the original version of the 1,000-pound realm cultivation art, all of these consumed willpower. This was especially so for capturing divine runes. Actually, Su Yu had meditated for a very long time, therefore it was almost dark when he left the academy. However, his harvest today was really too great. Bai Feng opened another sky for him, allowing him see how high the sky was outside Nanyuan, how big the world was, and how exciting the human world was. Divine runes, willpower, the original version of all races' cultivation arts, nurturing nature, cloud realm, mountain seas realm. Too many terms flooded Su Yu's mind. So this was what the true cultivation world was like. So this was what the Great Xia Civilization Academy were like. 1,000-pound realm and 10,000-stone realm. Those realms that he felt were unattainable in the past were merely so when he looked at them today. One word, one world, divine runes suppressed the heavens. Civilization masters could also be so powerful that the heavens would tremble. So, I'm very weak. My willpower is only at 10%. He had always felt that he was talented, so he felt a little proud. Teacher Lu Wenyan had always wanted him to enter the Great Xia Civilization Academy, giving him the illusion that if he didn't join one, it would be a loss to the academy. However, it was a little ridiculous thinking back today. That genius from the Great Zhou Prefecture should be one of the top-notch geniuses. That's why he managed to reach the 3rd level of the soaring realm in half a year. Bai Feng probably has the intention to intimidate me a little, but even so, the Great Xia Prefecture definitely doesn't lack students at the nurturing stage. Nurturing, 50% full. Su Yu's cultivation base was only 1/5 of his opponent's. The difference between them was very great. One must know that he had been hunted down in his dreams for the past few years. Hence, Su Yu felt that his willpower wouldn't be weak. As he walked, he sensed the word, blood, in his mind. After the previous outburst, the words seemed a little dim. Clearly, the eruption earlier had consumed a lot of the power of the divine runes. Divine runes require willpower to nurture. Su Yu recalled Bai Feng's reminder and slowly tried to feel it. He slowly tried to nurture this word with his heart. When he returned home, it was incomparably quiet. Su Yu sat in a daze for a while before feeling extremely hungry. He didn't eat lunch and went to the academy in the morning. After meditating for a period of time, it would be afternoon. By the time he returned, the sky was already dark and he was so hungry that he couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't in the mood to cook, so he casually made some noodles and wolfed them down like dates. This was considered the end of dinner. After eating, Su Yu quickly entered his room. Origin opening art, 1,000-pound bone fragment, origin chi liquid. This was his harvest today. His harvest was huge. His willpower had been greatly depleted today, so Su Yu didn't plan to continue cultivating. However, the written by Bai Feng and that drop of origin chi liquid could be used to cultivate his body. After reading the written by Bai Feng, I feel that even if I don't rely on blood essence to open the booklet, I will be able to cultivate to the 5th level of the origin opening realm very quickly. After all, the origin gathering art activated by blood essence wasn't too suitable for humans to cultivate. If I use blood essence to open the booklet and actively absorb origin chi, what will the outcome be if I use origin chi liquid? Su Yu thought of this point. When he activated the origin gathering art, he could take the initiative to absorb origin chi. Nanyuan's origin chi wasn't considered abundant. What if he was in a place with abundant origin chi? Would his cultivation speed be faster? He still had 2 drops of ironwing bird race blood essence. After he finished cultivating yesterday, he felt that he was almost at the 5th level of origin opening realm. I'll cultivate to the 5th level of the origin opening realm first before using origin chi liquid to cultivate. Su Yu made his decision and didn't delay. He quickly swallowed a drop of ironwing bird's blood essence and activated the origin gathering art. This time around, when he activated the origin gathering art and actively absorbed origin chi to refine his apertures, Su Yu had a completely different feeling. In his mind, the appeared. In his memories, Bai Feng had transformed into a small person, and his every move when he cultivated the was deeply imprinted in his mind. This allowed Su Yu to have a much deeper understanding of the origin opening realm. The origin gathering art is too crude and isn't as detailed as the Perhaps it's because of the difference in bodies between the demon race and the human race. In the past, Suyu would allow the origin gathering art to circulate on its own. But after thinking about it today, he took the initiative to guide the origin chi. In the past, he didn't dare to do so because he was worried that it might cause damage to his body. But now, he didn't have too many misgivings. Origin chi began to lean toward the tempering of the aperture in his right ear, and a rumbling sound rang out in his right ear. Rumble. A series of sounds that only he could hear echoed out. Origin chi vibrated in his right ear aperture, and his fifth aperture was about to open. At this moment, the blood character in his mind also trembled slightly. Suyu soon discovered that something was amiss. The blood underling was actually drawing origin chi as well. Divine runes require origin chi tempering? Suyu started. He thought that he only needed to temper his will. He didn't expect that divine runes also required origin chi tempering. He didn't bother with stealing origin chi from the word blood. In any case, Suyu didn't need too much origin chi at this stage. After about 20 minutes, a thunderous roar rang out in Suyu's right ear. Boom! A loud sound rang out, but outsiders couldn't hear it. Suyu's body trembled slightly from the impact, but he was extremely happy. The fifth aperture has been opened. Fifth level of the origin opening realm. He was at the fifth level of the origin opening realm. It had been exactly 10 days since his father went to the All-Skies battlefield. In 10 days, he advanced from the third level to the fifth level. It was too fast. Suyu was delighted. The fifth level of the origin opening realm wasn't worth mentioning to others, but it could be considered one of the top-notch ones in Nanyuan Academy. Bai Feng and the others were knowledgeable and had seen students from mid-grade academies at the ninth level of the origin opening realm before, but that was Bai Feng. Chapter 61, Fifth Level Origin Opening Realm, 2. Chapter 61, Fifth Level Origin Opening Realm, 2. If the news of Suyu being at the fifth level of the origin opening realm spread, it would at least cause a small commotion in Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy. His hearing was strengthened once again, and Suyu felt completely different. Previously, when he opened his left ear, he was a little unused to it. One side of his hearing was strong, but the other side was weak. There were many times when he had a feeling of error, but this feeling had disappeared. That's great. Fifth level of the origin opening realm. Suyu couldn't help but feel happy. He hadn't used the origin chi liquid yet. Today was the 19th of April. The examination for high-grade academy was usually held on the 25th of June. The results would be out at the end of June, and the quota would be confirmed at the beginning of July. Students would then enter the academy at the beginning of August. This was the process that followed. And now, there were still a little over 2 months before the examination. The Great Xia Civilization Academy didn't care about the level of the origin opening realm, but Suyu did. Without reaching the 1,000-pound realm, one wouldn't have much combat strength at the origin opening realm. Suyu, who had killed members of the All-Races sect before, had a very high desire for combat strength. He didn't want to die in the hands of those All-Races sect members. Previously, over 10 students from the academy had died. This was the lesson he had learned. Even if he had blood essence to activate martial skills, it was a power that he had borrowed temporarily. Hence, Suyu hoped that he could possess such power. Suyu didn't rest after breaking through to the fifth level of the origin opening realm. He began his previous study plan. He cultivated, read, and slept. This time, he wasn't reading ordinary books but that Bai Feng had given him. As for the 1,000-pound bone fragment, Suyu didn't look at it. It wasn't because it was stronger than but because there was more suitable for Suyu's current state. By reading and familiarizing himself with the entire origin opening realm, he could use his will to resist. Reading books at this time was truly difficult. Suyu finally understood how Chen Hao and the others felt when they read books. After reading a single line, they would feel like throwing their books down to sleep. The confrontation of willpower was the same feeling as when a bad student held a large document and read it. When it was close to 12 p.m., Suyu washed up simply and then began to sleep, preparing to wait for the dream realm. Right now, he somewhat yearned for the arrival of the dream realm because this was also a confrontation of wills. If my willpower is strong enough to kill the monsters in the dream realm one day, perhaps I will have a different harvest. The activation of the all races diagram depended on the blood essence. Many times, Suyu would think that if he hadn't thought of this point, how would he open the booklet and end the dream? Counterattack. He had some guesses. After killing the monster in the dream, would there be a different outcome and a different harvest? This night's dream was a little special. It was so special that Suyu didn't expect it at all. This night, there were monsters hunting Suyu in his dream, but Suyu was still swiftly killed. However, he discovered that in his dream, he could actually outline divine runes. Yes, divine runes. The word blood appeared in his dream. Suyu drew out the word blood and in his dream, an illusory iron-winged bird pounced over. Suyu was a little puzzled. Why was the iron-winged bird pouncing over? Naturally, this might have something to do with his subconscious. But no matter what, he had actually grasped the usage of divine runes in his dream. This was a completely different beginning. The next day, Suyu woke up and fell into deep thought. He was thinking about a question. The divine texts were in a dream. Were they real or fictional? Did the word blood in his head run into his dream, or was it the word blood that came with the dream? It was a mouthful, but Suyu still wanted to understand it because it was very important. This was because if the word blood really entered, it meant that his dream wasn't just a dream but a special space. Perhaps it could be used in the same space as divine runes. This meant that there were still deep-level functions in the all races diagram that he hadn't discovered. After sensing the word blood in his mind, Suyu discovered that the words that had dimmed yesterday were starting to emit a faint glow again today. He didn't know if it was because he had slept or because he had spent the night in a dream. He quickly got up to wash up and didn't continue his research. He was going to the academy today. Even though Bai Feng said yesterday that he didn't have much to teach today and that he shouldn't bite off more than he could chew, Suyu still planned to make a trip to the academy. In the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy. At the entrance of the academy, Suyu rushed over but didn't wait for Chen Hao. There were a few more people at the door today. It was still very early, so most of the students didn't come. Bai Feng was dressed in a white robe and had an outstanding bearing. He stood among them with a smile on his face, standing out from the crowd. He was especially eye-catching. Beside him was the old academy head, the city guards Zhang Qianfu, the Wind Arrest Hall's Hall Lord, and Lu Wenyan. Bai Feng was chatting with a few people. When he saw Suyu rushing over, he couldn't help but smile. "Didn't you say that we won't be teaching you today? Why are you here?" Suyu panted slightly and greeted a few teachers before saying, "I'm here to send teacher Bai off. Thank you for your guidance yesterday." Bai Feng was leaving today. Even though he didn't say it, Suyu could tell from his tone yesterday. After the Nanyuan incident, Bai Feng naturally wouldn't stay here for long. Yesterday, he had taught them everything they needed to know. Suyu and the others couldn't learn the rest yet, so there wasn't much meaning for Bai Feng to stay. Bai Feng laughed and ignored him. He then turned to look at Lu Wenyan and spoke again, "Martial uncle, you have already manifested your will, and the doors of the Great Xia Civilization Academy will always be open for you. Your body hasn't formed a foundation yet, so if you are unwilling to retrieve the Flying Tiger's blood essence yourself, I will send it to you later." Lu Wenyan frowned slightly. "There's no need. I'm old, so there's no need for me to consume precious blood essence. I can use some ordinary blood essence to temper my body. As for the Flying Tiger's blood essence." Chapter 62, 5th Level Origin Opening Realm, 3. Chapter 62, 5th Level Origin Opening Realm, 3. Lu Wenyan glanced at Su Yu from the corner of his eye but didn't say anything. He then spoke in a low voice, "Save it for those who need it in the future." Bai Feng smiled. He understood what Lu Wenyan meant. Since Su Yu wanted to enter the Great Xia Civilization Academy, even though he didn't know how many years it would take for his will to manifest, he would also need a powerful blood essence to forge his body. The blood essence of a flying tiger was very strong. The blood essence of a powerful race ranked in the top 50. Even if the academy had these powerful blood essences, how many people were there in the high-grade academy? Everyone could get a share. That was impossible. Su Yu's family background was ordinary. His father was a cultivator at the 1,000-pound realm, so where could he get powerful essence blood? He could only rely on the academy and the teachers. Even if Bai Feng accepted him as a student, it didn't mean that Bai Feng would prepare body-forging essence blood for him. The flying tiger blood essence belonged to teacher Bai Feng and Lu Wenyan's junior brother. If he wanted to give it to Lu Wenyan now, Lu Wenyan wouldn't need it. However, if he gave it to Su Yu, Bai Feng's teacher probably wouldn't reject him. Lu Wenyan didn't mention this matter, but Bai Feng knew this in his heart. He wasn't in a hurry to forge a body. There were some things that he could talk about after Su Yu entered the academy. In that case, it's up to Martial Uncle. After Bai Feng spoke, he looked at Su Yu again and calmly said, "Su Yu, fate and the future depend on oneself to change. Even though Nanyuan is small, it doesn't mean that we can't produce experts. Background, family background, talent, these are all things that can be taken advantage of in the beginning. The road is still long, and the mountain is high and the road is long. Who can walk to the end, who can laugh proudly at the heavens, and who can contend for supremacy among the myriad races? We'll see when we get there. I'll wait for you at the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Nanyuan is too small, and the outside world is more exciting. I'm leaving." Bai Feng laughed heartily. With a single step, he was already tens of meters away. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of everyone. Unrestrained. At the side, the Nanyuan expert's eyes were filled with admiration. Bai Feng was a genius from the Great Xia Civilization Academy. He might be able to step into Cloud Realm very soon. Such a genius was rare even in the Great Xia Prefecture. The city guard captain, Zhang Qianfu, sighed. He then turned his head to look at Su Yu and smiled. "Is this Su Long's son?" The old academy head smiled. "It's him. Like father, like son. From what researcher Bai said before she left, I can tell that she has high hopes for you." Zhang Yun looked at Su Yu and smiled. "Work hard. Nanyuan is small, but it doesn't mean that a small place won't produce experts. I know about your father's matter. You don't have to worry too much. Even though our human race has many enemies on the all-skies battlefield, we are still invincible wherever the blade points. There will be news from the soldiers here in Nanyuan from time to time. When the news from the all-skies battlefield reaches us in a few days and there is news of your father, I will get someone to send you a copy." After Zhang Yun spoke, Su Yu hurriedly expressed his gratitude. "Thank you, Lord Zhang. Don't stand on ceremony." Zhang Yun laughed heartily. "Speaking of which, we're considered family. Your father is a straightforward person and isn't willing to join a military camp. Hence, even when he went to the all-skies battlefield, he stayed in the office and refused to leave. A few years ago, I invited your father to join the city guards as a centurion, but your father wasn't willing. Otherwise, if he joined the city guards, he would probably be able to break through to the 10,000 stone realm. With his bravery, the position of deputy general of the city guards would probably be his. Even though it's a pity, your father's choice wasn't wrong. I admire him very much." Zhang Yun's words were very straightforward. As he spoke, he continued seriously, "You have a good teacher. Teacher Lu is the guardian of the civilization in Nanyuan. You have a good academy head. The strength of the academy head isn't strong, but he has worked hard for Nanyuan Academy for the past 40 years. Nanyuan is small, but Nanyuan is simple and honest enough. I've seen many geniuses from Nanyuan. They went to the Great Xia Prefecture or even other large prefectures, but in the end, they got lost halfway. I hope you'll be different because you're the descendant of a soldier. Your father isn't strong, but he's worthy of you learning from. Maintain your original intention and don't forget who you are. Don't overestimate yourself, but don't belittle yourself either. Be true to yourself. Zhang Yun laughed. I'm from Nanyuan. I'm not afraid of being weak, but I'm afraid of being a coward. Don't be a coward. When you go out, use your strength to speak and courage to speak. If you really can't survive and feel that there's no way out, come back. The city guards will leave a spot for you. Su Yu thanked him again. At the side, Lu Wenyan snapped, stop spouting nonsense. After leaving Nanyuan, you can come back when you can't hang around anymore. You can't afford to lose face like this. Also, teaching students is our business, so how can it be your turn to spout chicken soup? Zhang Yun was embarrassed. He then laughed out loud and didn't say anything else. He then quickly left. At the side, the Wind Arrest Hall's Hall Lord also laughed. He bade farewell to the others and quickly left. Su Yu watched their conversation and couldn't help but snicker. Just as Zhang Yun had said, although Nanyuan was small, the atmosphere in Nanyuan was very good. The teachers here weren't cold, the generals here weren't fierce, and the academy head here was really weak. The old academy head was so angry that his beard curled up. Earlier, Zhang Yun was looking down on him. Chapter 63, The Top Student is Working Hard, 1. Chapter 63, The Top Student is Working Hard, 1. In the office. 5th level of the Origin Opening Realm. Lu Wenyan held his teacup and sized Su Yu up, feeling a little surprised. In the past, his senses weren't too obvious. However, as his willpower manifested, it became very obvious when he looked at Su Yu again. Ordinary people couldn't see or feel the 9 apertures of the Origin Opening Realm, but civilization masters like them could clearly sense the 9 light spots. Su Yu's light spots lit up by 5, and that was the 5th level of the Origin Opening Realm. Amen. Su Yu nodded. I was at the 4th level yesterday, but after Teacher Bai wrote the once, I felt that I knew the 9 apertures like the back of my hand and directly advanced to the 5th level. That's your opportunity. Lu Wenyan didn't suspect anything. He chuckled and said, Bai Feng might seem relaxed, but with his strength, writing the complete still consumes a lot of willpower. If it wasn't for his deep foundation, it would be difficult for him to complete this cultivation art even if he was at the 7th level of the soaring realm. In civilization academies, teachers won't write the words of will easily. This is because the consumption of willpower is too great, and it's very difficult to recover. They also need to nurture divine runes. Under normal circumstances, they won't be willing to expend a large amount of willpower, so their classes are very expensive. The merit points of the students are compensation for them. After Lu Wenyan spoke, he smiled and said, 5th level of the Origin Opening Realm. It seems that your talent in the body path is not bad. However, the speed in Origin Opening Realm isn't too important. Lu Wenyan really didn't care too much about this. So what if he was at the Origin Opening Realm and a genius at that? The day the civilization masters arrived, they would soar into the air. This was the huge difference. I didn't ask you yesterday. Did you kill that guy from the All Races sect? Amen. Su Yu didn't deny it and nodded. In front of Lu Wenyan, he couldn't be bothered to deny it. That's right. When it's time to act, we have to act. Lu Wenyan laughed softly. After swallowing the essence blood, you erupted with strength and killed the other party, right? Teacher, can you sense it? Su Yu was a little surprised. Of course. Do you think you can hide it from the civilization masters? Lu Wenyan laughed and then said seriously, your body is too weak. It's not suitable for you to absorb blood essence to cultivate in the origin opening realm, nor is it suitable for you to absorb essence blood to erupt. You're messing around. It's an emergency. At that time, you guys were in danger, and it was us teachers who didn't protect you well. Hence, when you devoured the essence blood, I couldn't say anything. But now, you are not allowed to absorb blood essence to cultivate. Lu Wenyan said solemnly, don't waste your entire life for the sake of a temporary increase in cultivation speed. Blood essence can strengthen the body and increase cultivation speed, but you haven't completed the origin opening realm. If you don't open your 9 apertures, do you know how much trouble it will be if blood essence accumulates in your body? When you reach the day of manifestation, there will be too much all races blood essence in your body. At that time, when you cast your body, the blood essence will also have resistance. Moreover, there will be conflicts, and it will greatly weaken the strength of your body casting. Lu Wenyan's tone was extremely serious. Remember, you are not allowed to absorb essence blood to cultivate. Don't keep gambling for an opportunity. You won't be able to come out unscathed every time. I understand. Su Yu hurriedly replied. Actually, he didn't devour the blood essence himself, but it was absorbed by the booklet. There was only a trace of blood essence aura left in his body. This was all Lu Wenyan could sense. In reality, it had no effect on Su Yu at all. Naturally, there was no need to explain this matter to Lu Wenyan in detail. That's good then. Lu Wenyan regained his smile. There are still 2 more months to the Academy's examination. You can be considered to have been accepted in advance, but this doesn't mean that you can waste these 2 months. Bai Feng said that you are considered a genius in Nanyuan, but you are just a mediocre person in the Great Xia Prefecture. This isn't a mistake. But, that was before. Lu Wenyan smiled. I haven't manifested my will yet, so there are some things I can't teach you and some things I can't help you with. But things are different now. For the next 2 months, you will mainly cultivate with me. Su Yu wanted to say something but hesitated. After some thought, he spoke in a low voice, Teacher, is it just me? Amen. Teacher, my father, could he be your lost son? Lu Wenyan was so angry that he laughed. You want to be my grandson? I don't care for it. Lu Wenyan pointed at him. After a while, he broke into laughter. Don't think too much about it. In Nanyuan, both you and Lu Yu are quite talented. However, Lu Yu has her family to guide her, help her, and provide her with resources. Hence, she is stronger than you now. What about you? You don't have anything. Your father went to the All Skies battlefield, and I watched you grow up in the 5 years you spent in a mid-grade academy. Teacher isn't a completely fair and just selfless person. As for the others in the academy, strictly speaking, their futures are limited. You might be able to go further than them, but the human race needs experts. Lu Wenyan spoke bluntly, it's because I feel that you might become an expert in the future. Hence, as long as it's within my capabilities, I'm willing to help you a little more so that your journey will be smoother. Naturally, there's a prerequisite. You are worthy of me being biased toward you. If you are unruly and self-righteous, I will only watch silently and not say anything. Thank you, teacher. Su Yu thanked sincerely. During his 5 years in Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy, Lu Wenyan had given him a lot of help. He had learned all races' languages and grasped 18 languages. All of this was thanks to Lu Wenyan's help. In these 5 years, Lu Wenyan had gone from an ignorant youth to someone who was about to enter a Great Xia Civilization Academy. He played a very important role in this. Chapter 64, The Top Student is Working Hard, 2. Chapter 64, The Top Student is Working Hard, 2. There's no need to thank me. When you become stronger one day, remember, kill more enemies on the battlefield. This is the best reward for me. Lu Wenyan stood up and tossed this topic aside. Follow me and learn a few more all races languages during these few days. Your willpower will also increase a little. Right now, you are too weak. Su Yu didn't say anything and silently followed Lu Wenyan out. Xia Trading Company. In the storeroom. Accompanied by the manager of the trading company, the two of them walked into a huge storeroom. When he saw everything inside, Su Yu was stunned. Today is the first lesson, identifying corpses. This is the Xia Trading Company's main warehouse in Nanyuan. There are 132 demon corpses inside, and most of them were killed in the All Skies battlefield and dragged back directly. They have not been processed. Your mission today is to stay inside for a day and identify the corpses. Lu Wenyan threw down a booklet. Record their data. The height, width, weight, number of bones. At this moment, Su Yu had a blank look on his face and felt a little nauseous. The smell of blood was too strong. Stay for a day. Go in. Stay here alone today. Of course, don't touch these demon corpses. They are very valuable and you won't be able to afford it. As Lu Wenyan spoke, he continued, tonight, I want to see the data you have recorded. As for the unknown races, I want to see your own speculations. Even if you are spouting nonsense, you have to write them down for me. Teacher, me alone. Su Yu had a bitter look on his face. If he was afraid, he wouldn't be too scared. But is it appropriate for an 18-year-old young man like me to be thrown here in such a large storeroom with such a strong smell of blood? Alone. Lu Wenyan said indifferently, could it be that you can't even endure this little bit? On the All Skies battlefield, sometimes, the soldiers have to lie in ambush for a few days in a pile of corpses. If you can't even endure this, you don't have to go to the All Skies battlefield because you'll only be sending yourself to your death. I understand. Su Yu didn't say anything else. It was fine if he was alone. There were many demon corpses in this place, and he had never seen some before. He wondered if he could find some of the monsters in his dream. Close the door. Lu Wenyan left the storeroom. At the next moment, the people from the Xia Trading Company directly closed the door of the storeroom. It was an extremely heavy metal door. After the door closed, the manager who hadn't spoken earlier chuckled. Old Lu, is this your new disciple? Amen. Lu Wenyan didn't say much, and the manager didn't ask any more questions. This was nonsense. Since he wasn't an entry-level disciple, Lu Wenyan wouldn't pay a huge price to have the Xia Trading Company open their storehouse for a student to enter. Not everyone could enter the main warehouse of the Xia Trading Company. Old Lu, after all, he's a newbie who hasn't been to the battlefield before. He's too young. I'm afraid that he'll have nightmares for the next few days. Should we turn on the lights and make things easier for him? The lights inside were switched off, and there were only a few dim safety lights to illuminate the place. Under such circumstances, the storeroom was even gloomier. There's no need. Civilization masters often have to deal with corpses. If we can't even pass this hurdle, how are we supposed to deal with the future? Lu Wenyan smiled. A powerful civilization master can directly go to the All Skies battlefield to capture gods and devils before returning to conduct research. Since he wants to walk this path, he has to learn to get used to it. The manager smiled and didn't continue the conversation. Civilization masters, it was a little too early to talk about this. There were too many people who were stuck at the nurturing stage for their entire lives. Not everyone was called a civilization master. Capture gods and devils. How many people in the Great Xia Prefecture could do this? Lu Wenyan thought too highly of this student. Naturally, he couldn't refute old Lu's words. Since old Lu had manifested his will, he could be considered a civilization master. The Xia Trading Company didn't care about a civilization master who had just advanced, but Lu Wenyan had a junior brother who was a high-level researcher in the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Hence, they had no choice but to pay attention to him. In any case, as someone from Nanyuan Trading Company, he couldn't afford to offend him. This is a fire pig. It's 1 meters tall and 2 meters long. It's good at spitting fire and ramming. It's a cannon fodder race in the all-skies battlefield, and it mainly focuses on the 1,000-pound realm. Looking at the incomparably tall corpse in front of him, Suyu started recording. Lu Wenyan felt that Suyu would be scared, disgusted, and scared. In reality, Suyu didn't feel that scared. It was just that the smell was a little pungent. The smell of blood in the storeroom was too strong, and he couldn't stand it. As for weight, Suyu calculated the volume and recalled the density of the fire pig meat as well as the bone ratio. He roughly estimated that it was between 20 to 25 tons. That was 20,000 to 25,000 kilograms. This was the weight of a fire pig. It was a terrifying size and weight. Hence, for cannon fodder races like the fire pigs, even if they were only at the 1,000-pound realm, their charge was still terrifying. If a team at the 1,000-pound realm wasn't prepared in advance, they would easily be torn to pieces by the fire pigs. Amen. As he was calculating, Suyu frowned slightly. The word blood in his mind was boiling. You want to drink blood? Suyu bared his teeth. This isn't mine. Even though the blood essence has been refined, ordinary blood is still valuable. It's not good to steal other people's things, understand? Actually, these corpses had very little blood. After the blood essence was extracted, there wasn't much ordinary blood left. Most of it had fused into the blood essence. However, no matter how little it wasn't something that belonged to him. His teacher had brought him here to broaden his horizons. If he took something, Lu Wenyan would be the one to take the blame. This wouldn't do. You can actually suck blood, Suyu mumbled. The blood underling seemed a little unwilling. It was a divine character with the word blood, so wasn't it normal for it to suck blood? Chapter 65, The Top Student is Working Hard, 3. Chapter 65, The Top Student is Working Hard, 3. Can sucking blood strengthen you? Suyu wasn't too sure, but he couldn't absorb the blood here. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain. Stop being restless. When I have money later, I'll buy some for myself. Ordinary blood isn't too valuable. Previously, he had bought a bottle of ordinary ironwing bird blood worth 5,000 yuan. Naturally, the amount wasn't much. In reality, if they were to purchase it in bulk, the price wouldn't be expensive and there would be a huge discount. The main point was that no one would purchase ordinary blood in bulk unless. Suyu's gaze flickered. Blood essence was actually refined from ordinary blood. Suyu couldn't help but mutter, "Little brother, can you refine blood essence?" If possible, this was a way to get rich. There were some civilization masters who could refine essence blood. For every drop they refined, their pay would be quite high. A drop of blood essence at the 1,000-pound realm. The Xia Trading Company dared to sell it for 50,000. In reality, there wasn't much cost. It was mainly in terms of storage, transportation, and extraction, plus personnel fees. As for the cost itself, if you went to the all-skies battlefield and spent 100,000 yuan, you could ask the military to bring back tens or even hundreds of 1,000-pound realm demon beasts. Those things were trash in the all-skies battlefield, and the soldiers wouldn't eat them. There were too many of them and they couldn't be finished. The majority of them were in the later stages. The cost of refining blood essence and transportation wasn't worth it to transport a 1,000-pound realm demon beast back from the all-skies battlefield. Unless it was a large-scale transportation, even 50,000 wasn't worth it. Naturally, the military also had civilization masters who could directly refine them in the all-skies battlefield. However, those at the 1,000-pound realm weren't very valuable, and civilization masters couldn't be bothered to take action. In the past, Suyu didn't understand these things too well. However, now that he knew of the existence of civilization masters, he could make some connections and gain a rough understanding. Blood characters and divine runes need to absorb blood. Suyu sighed. He felt that he would go bankrupt soon. If blood could nurture divine runes, wouldn't he have to go and buy them? He definitely had to buy it. The nurturing of divine runes was very important. If his willpower wasn't enough, he would use other methods to nurture it. It seemed that he would be short of money in the future. Suyu was amusing himself in the storeroom. He was so tired that he was sweating profusely when he checked on the corpses. These corpses were too heavy. As someone at the origin opening realm, he couldn't move the corpses at all, let alone carry them. Some of them were piled up together, so he had to move them bit by bit. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to see them clearly. A moment later, Suyu's body was covered in blood, looking extremely dirty. The divine character for blood throbbed even more intensely, as though it wanted to come out and suck blood. Since Suyu had suppressed it, was this thing looking for a fight again? It was only at night when the door to the storeroom opened that Suyu was released. Outside the door, Lu Wenyan looked at his dirty appearance. The booklet was filled with dense words, and he revealed a smile. Very good. He didn't complain or patronize her. It was very good. That's all for today. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll stay here for 5 days and change locations in 5 days. After Lu Wenyan finished speaking, he thought for a moment and continued, previously, Bai Feng taught you to try out the divine language. Of course, you won't be able to do this now, but you can try to get used to it in advance. The consumption of willpower to outline divine runes is very high. Actually, there's another shortcut. By using the demon race's blood essence to outline, the blood essence will naturally contain willpower and origin chi. One will first outline divine runes that possess a divine charm in the outside world before drawing them with their will. This is the normal cultivation method of Civilization Academy students. I didn't teach you this in the past, but I will do so in the future. Every 5 days, you can receive a drop of essence blood from me that is suitable for sketching divine runes. The prerequisite is that you complete the course very well. Suyu was excited at first, but he then spoke awkwardly, "Teacher, forget it. I don't need it." It was impossible to expect the academy to reimburse him for the blood essence. Clearly, if Lu Wenyan wanted to pay out of his own pocket, even if he wanted to redeem it in the academy, he would have to pay 1 merit point. I'm talking about the outstanding completion of the course. Do you think I'm giving it to you for free? Lu Wenyan snapped, "Do you think you can complete it easily? Maybe in 2 months, it'll be considered not bad if you can get a single drop. What is 1 merit point to me?" Suyu was embarrassed. He wanted to say that he had actually completed the outline, but there were still people from the Xia Trading Company beside him, so he held back. Let's wait and see. Besides, the teacher is right. I might not be able to complete the mission he gave me. If it wasn't for the fact that he was used to being killed in the dream realm today, he probably wouldn't have been able to withstand such a thick stench of blood. Let's go. Go back and have a good rest tonight. Your mission recently is very important. You can put aside your cultivation for Origin Opening Realm for now. Yes, I understand. Teacher, don't worry. There won't be any delays. The two of them exchanged a few words before Suyu returned home and Lu Wenyan returned to the academy. Time passed by. During the day, Suyu would learn from Lu Wenyan. At night, his missions were also very important. He would cultivate in the Origin Opening Realm and observe the. He would also take the time to learn the all races languages while fighting in the Dream Realm. He also began to officially observe and learn the original bone fragments of the 1,000-pound realm. Even though he couldn't see them yet, every time he fought against them, it would be beneficial to his willpower. Bai Feng said that he could see it at most twice a day. As for Su Yu, he could see it at least 10 times a day. He didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. In any case, every time he finished reading, his head would ache a little, but it would recover very quickly. It was harmless. At this moment, Su Yu was so busy that he didn't have the time to deal with the matter of the blood underling wanting to absorb blood. He would use his willpower to nurture it first. It wouldn't be too late to slowly test it out when there was more time. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. It was now mid-May. Chapter 66, Calm Down. 1. Chapter 66, Calm Down. 1. Anping Calendar, Year 350, April 18th. It had been almost a month since Su Yu and Lu Wenyan studied alone. During this month, Su Yu was very, very tired, but he was also very happy. In terms of cultivation, Su Yu's improvement was very obvious. After consuming a few more drops of blood essence, he still didn't use the half drop of origin chi liquid. Even so, Su Yu had opened the aperture for both his eyes and officially stepped into the 7th level of the origin opening realm. In a month, he had opened both apertures for his eyes. This speed was very fast. At this moment, even in other large cities, Su Yu was a true cultivation genius. As for the 8th level of origin opening realm, this was rarely seen in other large cities. Under normal circumstances, only the Great Xia Prefecture had some. Even in the Great Xia Prefecture, those at the 8th level of origin opening realm were considered geniuses. 8th level, opening the aperture at the navel. After opening this aperture, cultivators would be able to sense the existence of a trace of origin chi and could even mobilize some origin chi. At this moment, cultivators had combat strength. The 8th level of the origin opening realm was a watershed between cultivators with combat strength and ordinary people without. The improvement in his physical body cultivation was obvious, and so was his willpower. According to Lu Wenyan, in a short month, Su Yu's willpower had reached around 15%. Even though 5% wasn't a lot, it was already hard to imagine. One must know that even after so many years, Su Yu had only reached 10%. At this speed, Su Yu had a chance of reaching 20% before the examination. At that time, Su Yu would no longer be a newbie. With 20% of his willpower, he would be able to directly look at the 1,000-pound bone fragments. At this stage, he would be at the starting line of a civilization master and could be considered to have truly stepped onto the path of a civilization master. Other than the improvement in his strength, Lu Wenyan had brought him to many places in the past month and had seen many things. Some gains might be more important than the improvement in his strength. 200,000 Anping coins, 10 gold coins, 2 drops of blood essence, and 10 merit points. During his month of cultivation, Su Yu had used up a lot of blood essence. However, he didn't spend much money now. Instead of decreasing, his merit points increased. During this month, Lu Wenyan rewarded him with 3 blood essences, and Su Yu chose the Ironwing bird race's blood essence. As for merit points, they were what Chen Hao had gotten from reporting his contributions. In reality, Su Yu had only spent 60,000 yuan to purchase 2 drops of blood essence from the Xia Trading Company at the internal price. The internal price given by the Xia Trading Company was because his teacher was Lu Wenyan. 7th level of origin opening realm. As he walked toward Lu Wenyan's office, Su Yu clenched his fists, feeling a little excited. Last night, he had just broken through to the 7th level of the origin opening realm. Next was the 8th level. It was more difficult to open the acupoint at the navel. Moreover, after opening it, Su Yu would be able to truly cultivate martial skills and possess combat strength. Today was supposed to be a holiday, but Su Yu couldn't wait any longer. Recently, the divine character, blood, kept wanting to absorb blood, but Su Yu stopped it. Previously, he wanted to test it out himself, but the divine character, blood, actually wanted to absorb the blood essence in Su Yu's hands, scaring him. He was only at the origin opening realm. The reason he was devouring the blood essence now was because it had been absorbed by the booklet, not him. The divine runes were in his sea of consciousness, but this fellow actually wanted to absorb his blood essence. If he wasn't careful and his head exploded, how could he explain himself? This time around, Suyu didn't dare to act rashly. He didn't even dare to let it absorb ordinary blood. He was afraid that his blood underling would kill him. After nurturing his blood underling with his willpower for a month, Suyu had also broken through to the 7th level of the origin opening realm. At this moment, Suyu felt that his strength had become much stronger, and his safety might be greater. He came to look for Lu Wenyan at this moment to ask him about the divine runes. During these few days, Lu Wenyan didn't teach him how to draw divine runes. With Baifeng's guidance previously, Lu Wenyan felt that Suyu wouldn't need to receive any other divine runes guidance during this month. He could just focus on reading them. In the office. Even on his day off, Lu Wenyan didn't go home to rest. During this month, he brought Suyu to run around and accumulated quite a number of matters in the academy. Hence, Lu Wenyan took advantage of the day off to deal with them. Before Suyu entered, he had already sensed it. When Suyu knocked on the door and entered, Lu Wenyan raised his head and looked at him. He then frowned slightly and said, "If you want to rest, then rest. It's better to strike a balance between work and rest. You've also been very tired during this month. Going too far is as bad as falling short." Suyu was very hardworking. He knew this, but during this month, he realized that Suyu was even more hardworking than what he had seen previously. Such students were very good. However, such students also made people worry that they would die from exhaustion one day. Moreover, Suyu hadn't given up on cultivating the body path, and his improvement in the body path was also very fast. This made Lu Wenyan wonder if this kid was more suitable for cultivating the body path. "Teacher, I'm not tired." Suyu hurriedly spoke and then immediately added, "Teacher, I came here today to ask about the divine runes. I've said it before. At this stage, what you need to do is to lay the foundation of divine runes and outline your own divine runes. With the foundation that Baifeng laid last time, you will soon have a chance to outline your own divine runes." Lu Wenyan interrupted him. This wasn't the first time Suyu asked this question. However, he felt that Suyu was still too anxious. If his willpower wasn't strong enough, blindly studying divine runes now wouldn't be a good thing. Lu Wenyan spoke in a low voice, "Suyu, you must cultivate step by step and not advance brashly. I've already lectured you a few times about the divine runes. Why are you still not listening? When your willpower reaches 20%, I'll write an essay of words of will for you. I'll let you capture the divine runes and see if you can officially lay the foundation. Now, don't think about divine runes anymore." Chapter 67, Calm Down. 2. Chapter 67, Calm Down. 2. Lu Wenyan was a little unhappy. However, the meaning behind his words was very clear. In a few days, he would write a will essay for Suyu. With his strength that had just advanced, even if Suyu didn't know what price he had to pay to an essay of words of will, but he knew that it wouldn't be easy. Back then, Baifeng was at the 6th level of the soaring realm and was almost at the 7th level. Even so, his face turned pale when he wrote the. Suyu bitterly smiled. There were a few times in the past when he wanted to ask his teacher, but he was always lectured in this manner. Sometimes, Lu Wenyan was very stubborn. As a teacher, he would impart his teachings and dispel doubts. Other than these, Lu Wenyan felt that teachers should guide students on the right path. He felt that if Suyu was focused on asking about divine runes at this moment, he would be going astray. The power of will was the foundation, and divine runes were something that would happen in the later stages. At this moment, if one bit off more than one could chew, it would be easy for them to step onto the wrong path. "Teacher. No more questions. Teacher." Suyu felt a headache. Sometimes, the old man was terrifyingly stubborn. I've already learnt the outlining of divine runes. Shut up. Lu Wenyan suddenly flew into a rage. Su Yu froze slightly. He looked at the angry Lu Wenyan and sensed that something was amiss. Lu Wenyan was also shocked by his own anger. After that, his expression changed for a moment before he regained his composure. He then spoke in a low voice, "I'm a little regretful that I asked Bai Feng to teach you. Divine runes are a good thing, but I didn't expect that you would be so persistent in pursuing divine runes. Su Yu, Civilization Master, and Divine Runes. These two are inseparable. However, you must remember that willpower is the foundation." He didn't listen to Su Yu's words about learning how to outline divine runes. Naturally, he had misunderstood as well. Having learned it didn't mean that one could outline divine runes. Lu Wenyan took a deep breath and beckoned. "Sit." Su Yu sat down obediently. After he sat down, Lu Wenyan's gaze was dazed for a moment before he quickly returned to normal. He struggled a little but still spoke. "There are some civilization masters who feel that divine runes are powerful. They wholeheartedly pursued divine runes when they were young when their will isn't firm. In the Great Xia Civilization Academy, the academy heads of several generations have left behind a divine rune. Among there were very useful ones. Every word is a world, making people yearn for it. 50 years ago, the 5th generation academy head of the Great Xia Civilization Academy died, leaving behind a single word. That word changed many things and also changed many people." A hint of bitterness appeared in Lu Wenyan's eyes. Some civilization masters who pursue the strength of divine runes have stepped onto another path of civilization masters, the path of divine runes. They focused mainly on divine runes. Divine runes become their main path, and all things become supplementary. Some of the geniuses from back then, geniuses at the nurturing stage, geniuses who were on the verge of stepping into the manifestation stage, were also greatly affected. They decided to outline powerful divine runes before they manifested, and even wanted to outline divine runes to kill soaring realm experts above their levels. They are ambitious and think that they are gifted and omnipotent. They aren't willing to become ordinary civilization masters. They want to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, draw out powerful divine runes, and even manifest the true divine runes of eternal inheritances. They want to become geniuses among the myriad races in the heavens. They want to rely on divine runes to kill gods and devils, conquer the heavens, and sweep through those of the same level. But Lu Wenyan looked at Su Yu and calmly said, "They failed. Many of them died, and many of them stopped at the nurturing stage for their entire lives. They were all geniuses with better futures and could contribute more to the human race, but they chose the wrong path. Today, if you go to the Great Xia Civilization Academy, they will teach you divine runes. However, before they teach you, they will tell you not to pursue the strengthening of divine runes excessively. That will be a matter for the future. They will use an example to tell you that back then, so-and-so had extraordinary talent. Because he pursued the strength of divine runes before he manifested them, he eventually became a nobody and was completely crippled. And that so-and-so, maybe, there's someone called Lu Wenyan." Su Yu's heart was in turmoil. Actually, when Lu Wenyan said those words earlier, he already had a judgment. In the end, he was certain. Lu Wenyan's mood was low as he said in a low voice, 50 years ago, Bai Feng and my teacher were fellow disciples, under the same teacher. At that time, both of us were in the nurturing stage. My willpower was at 80% and wasn't too far away from the manifestation stage. He had just stepped into the nurturing stage. At that time, the 5th generation academy head died, leaving behind a single word, which changed my life and the lives of many people. 50 years later, I am a trash civilization master who had just materialized. As for my junior brother, he was already a civilization master at the Mountain Sea realm. He can stand on his own, fight against all heavens and kill gods and devils. Lu Wenyan felt a little bitter. Su Yu, don't pursue this too much. I'm starting to regret it. I should have told you earlier that I regret it. I was worried that you would walk on the wrong path. Divine runes are supplementary, not fundamental. Even if you want to strengthen your divine runes, we'll talk about it after you manifest them. One is at the first level of the soaring realm, while the other is at the mountain sea realm. This is the difference in the path one chooses. The final outcome is heaven and earth. Su Yu's throat felt a little dry. He then asked softly, Teacher, divine runes, can interfere with the manifestation of willpower? Yes and no. Under normal circumstances, they won't, but nurturing divine runes consumes too much willpower. Of course, it's fine even if they are nurtured normally. However, those people from back then have gone crazy. When Lu Wenyan said, crazy, he sounded a little pained. For people like us, if we want to truly nurture divine runes that can manifest reality before manifesting them, we won't have to do it in the sea of will. Instead, we have to manifest them into reality and condense them into divine weapons or even eternal inheritances. Don't you think we're crazy? Chapter 68, Calm Down. 3. Chapter 68, Calm Down. 3. Lu Wenyan mocked himself. We are the ones who are nurturing our character. How strong can our willpower be? If we expend too much willpower on this, it might even injure our foundation. If we aren't lunatics, what are we? A bunch of idiots who don't know their place. They deserve to die, to be crippled, to be expelled. When he said that he had been expelled from the Great Xia Civilization Academy, it was true. Those people back then were all geniuses of the current generation. They were greatly influenced by the fifth-generation academy head. In the end, that generation was almost crippled. However, these people had great influence and even affected the inheritance of the entire Great Xia Civilization Academy. At that time, the sixth generation, the current academy head, made his choice. Get rid these people. Expel them. He wanted them to leave the Great Xia Civilization Academy and fend for themselves. He didn't want them to affect the choices of those who came after them. Otherwise, it would be very terrifying. Perhaps, the Great Xia Civilization Academy would cut off their inheritance because of this. Lu Wenyan wasn't prepared to tell Su Yu, but today, Su Yu was still thinking about the divine runes, so Lu Wenyan had no choice but to remind him. Lu Wenyan was deeply in love. He used his own example to prove that this was a wrong path. But Su Yu was conflicted. When he saw the teacher looking at him with anticipation, hoping that he would realize his mistake, Su Yu scratched his head and dryly asked, Teacher, is it fine to cultivate divine runes normally? It's naturally not a problem for you to cultivate normally, but your willpower is too weak now. It's actually not too late for you to go back to the nurturing stage. Teacher, but I've already managed to draw the outline. Su Yu nodded and said, it's been almost a month. The last time teacher by phone guided me, I succeeded in drawing it. He even asked me to capture a few more divine runes. Lu Wenyan looked at him with a calm expression. You succeeded in outlining it? That's right. On the day by phone taught you? Amen. Lu Wenyan nodded. His expression was still calm, but he was cursing wildly in his heart. It was one thing for Su Yu to be an idiot, but this brat simply didn't understand the meaning behind it. This B** starred by phone. No wonder this B** starred wanted to take Su Yu in as a student in advance. Does this B** starred have any shame? He cursed in his heart, but his expression was as calm as water. Since you've outlined the divine runes, you can slowly outline the complete divine runes. Why are you still asking so many questions? That's not it, teacher. I've already outlined the complete divine rune that day. It's mainly because this divine rune has been restless recently and has been wanting to suck blood. Bang! The pen in Lu Wenyan's hand pierced through the desk as he frowned. The quality of this desk is too poor. I know that the academy doesn't have enough funds, but old Wang is too thrifty. Don't learn from him being stingy with everything. Su Yu blinked. What a lousy table. Lu Wenyan was so angry that he tossed the brush away. He then turned his head to look at Su Yu and frowned. You managed to outline a complete divine rune on the first day. It's the word, blood. Su Yu hurriedly continued, a few days ago, I wanted to talk to teacher about this situation, but, in any case, it wasn't too urgent. Teacher told me to build a good foundation, so I didn't continue asking. A few days ago, he wanted to ask, but the outcome was the same as today. Lu Wenyan directly interrupted him. Su Yu was rather respectful toward Lu Wenyan. Since the teacher had interrupted him and asked him to establish his foundation, he naturally had nothing to say. It wasn't good for him to go against the teacher either. But today, he couldn't wait any longer. The teacher had even told him about his past, with an attitude that said, if you dare to pursue divine runes again, I will sever all ties with you as teacher and student, so you had no choice but to bite the bullet and finish his sentence. He had outlined the divine runes in advance. Would there be a problem? Bai Feng didn't say anything, but who knew if he was reliable? The character, blood, Lu Wenyan nodded. This character has been outlined before. It's normal for it to absorb blood. If they aren't sucking your blood, then it shouldn't be a problem. A month ago, on the first day, completed the outline. Lu Wenyan mumbled and then nodded slightly. Then I've misunderstood you. You're not bad. So you've already succeeded in drawing the outline. I was wondering why you kept mentioning this matter these few days. I see. After that, Lu Wenyan stood up and said, I'll go and communicate with Bai Feng. At the same time, I'll check the information and see what characteristics the blood character has. Wait here. I'll be back later. Lu Wenyan spoke as he walked, don't go away. Oh right, don't continue talking about this matter. Nanyuan is too small. Be careful that the All Races sect will target you if they find out. The reason was the same as what Bai Feng had said. As he spoke, Lu Wenyan ignored the fact that the office door was already closed. With a loud bang, he broke through the door and walked out. As he walked, he said, Old Wang, this fellow, he buys inferior grade items for everything. It's fine if the quality of the desk is bad, but even the door is inferior. If this academy falls under his control, it will close down sooner or later. Saving money isn't something that can be done this way. Lu Wenyan cursed. Not far away, the old academy head tugged at his beard, looking somewhat aggrieved. Was it very bad? No way. Old Lu's office supplies weren't bad. They were all the best in the academy. Outside, Lu Wenyan continued to scold as he continued to walk. As he walked, he flew as he ran. At the next moment, he flew to an uninhabited place. Suddenly, he hit his head against a pillar and convulsed in pain. He then spoke in a raving manner, completing one divine rune in a day, completing one divine rune in a day. F***CK. How embarrassing. No one told me. Bai Feng, I'll fight it out with you. You want to take in students? Dream on. I'll fight it out with you. This is too embarrassing. What did I say earlier? Lu Wenyan seemed to be a little more clear-headed. He seemed to have exposed his dark history and then pointed out to Su Yu. But, how embarrassing. His illustrious name was completely ruined today. That kid is also a B** starred. He didn't mention it when we first met, but will it kill you to talk more? When a teacher says something wrong, you have to be brave enough to refute. Didn't I teach you this? I don't think so. Lu Wenyan mumbled and then growled in a low voice. Don't say anything else, F***ck. Calm down. Su Yu is just a young lad and doesn't know anything. If I don't say it, what does he know? He merely outlined one divine rune in a day, it's as if no one can do it. Lu Wenyan rubbed his old face and remained calm. This is nothing. I, Lu Wenyan, am knowledgeable and have seen all sorts of storms.